Hey everybody, this week on Unconventional Lives, we are talking about the importance of supplementing our diets with vitamins and minerals as we age.
Yep. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Let's get going.
Let's go.
Hey, I'm Craig.
And I'm Kellie.
Join us as we share unfiltered, empowering conversations about love, marriage, fitness, travel, and living boldly.
Tune in as we prove you can have it all and live an unconventional life.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Unconventional Lives Show.
Hi, welcome back.
Yeah.
We are back.
How are you?
I am great.
You've got your spring dress on.
I do. It's sundress weather here in Colorado, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah, although it rained cats and dogs yesterday, but
It did.
But you know, it's nice.
Yeah.
Got
I
a
get
little
to
pollen
work-
out of the air.
Yeah, I get to work out in my gardens, and it's wonderful. With
Yeah.
all my birds.
Let's not talk about birds.
Right. Well, we have to talk about birds.
We're having
'cause
bird issues.
We are having bird issues.
The only bird I like right now is that guy right there.
Right.
Because he's not going to shit on my desk.
This is true. Or overtake our patio or front patio.
So if you listen to our show, you'll know a couple weeks ago we talked about my wife wanted for Mother's Day a bird feeder.
Yeah.
And so our kids asked, what does mom want for Mother's Day? And I said, she wants bird feeders. And so we ended up with 2 bird feeders.
Yes.
And they're great. We put them out in the yard and hung them up in the tree. And you bought like 87 pounds of some super
feed.
duper bird feed.
Yeah. And I've been loving my birds. I love my birds in my backyard.
Yeah. And you've been loving watching your birds out in your backyard and all of that.
Yes.
So
I do. I love my birds.
The only problem with the birds are they sort of overtook us. We're at like Alfred Hitchcock levels of like movie birds.
Yeah, they're doing kind of weird stuff. They're like coming onto our front porch and sleeping up on the top of up on top of the pillars. And there's poop all over
everywhere.
There's poop all over the ground on my front porch.
And then they decided like the pergola we have over our hot tub
in the backyard.
Yeah,
yes.
They just decided like this is the perfect place to perch and go to the bathroom as well.
Yeah, I don't
and
know
they
what's
sort of
happening.
moved in there. But then it got weird. It got weird.
Yeah, it did.
Because we were like, okay, we need to reevaluate the birds here and figure out like why are they so they're just we got to figure out how to like keep them off of everything.
Well, what's so crazy is we've been here for many years and we've never had a problem with birds before.
We've never had
bird feeders.
Unlimited supply of
I don't think there's a connection.
Bird seed.
I do not think there's a connection there.
But there's a giant connection.
I'm trying not to believe that there's a correlation there.
Super duper correlation.
But now we have these bird issues where they're just hanging out in various weird places and pooping everywhere. And that's not going to go over well.
Well, so we decided, we're like, okay, let's let the bird feeders empty out and let's just kind of reevaluate. They were pissed off.
Oh, they're really loud.
They
loud
sit out there and squeak and squawk. And then one night, I literally like went to go look outside to make sure we didn't have any deliveries. And there was a bird sitting on the front porch on the mat. And usually, you open the door, they fly away. That dude sat right there, and he looked like the freaking bird mafia.
Yeah.
Like he looked like he's like, hey, listen, like if the food's not back in the morning, shit's gonna go down. Like. I'm going to take you out.
This is true.
And I was like, get lost, bird. I even like, shh, go. And he just looked at me like,
I know.
I will kill you if you don't put the bird feeder back in play.
Why are they so brazen like that? I don't understand. It's not like I'm feeding them crack or anything.
You are feeding them crack.
I don't know. There's something in that bird feed. My local bird store sold me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Like, there's no place else in a bird's world. It's like,
yeah, that's true.
It's like you just put a free In-N-Out burger in our backyard. And they get unlimited,
I
delicious
know.
bird food.
I know, but I really enjoy having my birds come in, all different birds, and I get to use my little bird app and figure out which birds are coming and making noises
Yeah.
and all
And
that.
so then I spent all morning on Saturday with fishing line,
Yes.
trying to put little pieces of fishing line on our front porch so that the birds can't nest on the front porch.
Can't land on the pillars,
on the top of the pillars
ledges.
and hang out there and crap everywhere.
Yeah. So
Everywhere.
So it's an experiment we're doing right now with the fishing line, and we're going to be ordering something for the pergola so they don't have space between the top of the pergola and the railing where my curtains go, because that's where the little birds sit, is on top of the rod. So we're gonna do some experimenting, and we'll get back to you on if it works or not. Or
we could just take the bird feeders down.
I know, and that's my last resort. I don't want to get rid of my bird feeders.
And tell them to pack sand, scram.
I know, but
to
I don't want
eating
poop everywhere.
worms.
I really don't.
No,
So
they destroyed our front porch.
yeah. So I did move the
They
bird
destroyed
feeders.
our
I
back
know.
porch.
I moved the bird feeders further away from the house and the foundation, the concrete, and that's my first experiment. We'll see. I don't know. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's still up in there.
By next week, we're going to have a great deal on bird feeders.
I need bird feeding
do that.
tips. Like, help me out, my fellow bird nerds, because I want to keep my bird feeders. I enjoy them, but I don't want them pooping all over my
Everything.
patios.
Everything.
I don't. So anyways, so to take our mind off of the bird issue in
Yeah.
our yards,
You didn't get the look from the bird that was like,
I guess not. No, because I feed them.
yeah, you're right. And they're like,
They love me.
tell the lady
Yeah, tell the lady that lives here.
that lives here, the nice lady that lives here, we want more food, or you're going to pay.
Right,
old
exactly.
man.
Right.
Yeah.
And
We're going to crap in your eye.
Right. So to take our mind off of that, we're headed to sunny, warm, humid Cancun again.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Our summer vacation.
Yeah.
Sit
We're
by the
so
pool
ready.
for a week and enjoy
Yeah.
the sunshine. And we went
relax.
the same time last year,
We did.
and a freaking hurricane blew in.
It did.
And it was touch and go. We didn't leave,
We didn't leave.
but there was a solid day and a half there was a day of like,
Yeah.
the thing is coming, and you know, we're in Colorado. The hurricanes aren't a thing here.
No.
Not even tornadoes, really. I mean, every once in a while we'll get
this
sort
year,
of this year we've had a few. I saw somebody call
Not local.
it a spicy weather worm.
Spicy weather worm.
There's
That's
a spicy
hysterical.
weather worm touchdown near Denver.
Yeah.
We don't get it much around here.
No, but when we were in Cancun last year, the staff at the place we were staying was phenomenal. They did such a great job, and they weren't stressed at all. And I'm like, they've lived this
well, we
every
kept
year.
asking him. I kept asking him, like, hey, like, what's this category? Was it
Category
category
3?
Well,
It was 3.
but it only came in. It slowed down to like a 1 or a 2, and they were kind of like, it's no problem. You know,
Yeah.
it's like no problem. And
Yeah.
but while they're all the while they're saying it's no problem, and then and you look over and they're like taking the blades off of the fans,
Yeah.
and they're taking the speakers down, and
the
they're
sconces, the wall sconces.
At one point, we were going back to our room the night of the hurricane, and they made everybody go like back. Go, you have to be in the room by 11:00.
We had a curfew.
And I'm walking back, and I'm like, damn, it's dark.
I know,
It's
why is
super
it
dark.
dark?
And I realized, like, you look up where the sconces, where the lights that would be on the buildings, they had taken them off, and the wires were just there. It's like, okay, if it was no problem, why are you taking the sconces off?
No,
the
because
walls?
they were a well-oiled machine. It was not their first rodeo, and they were fully prepared. It was. I was not stressed at all.
Yeah,
Really.
And
We
there
just
was
had some
there was
water come
another
in the door.
group they were from Gulf Shores. They were from the Gulf.
Yeah.
Like lived on the Gulf, and I was like, hey. Well, you guys aren't
What's
leaving.
your
A lot of people
opinion?
left. About half the people left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, y'all aren't leaving. What's going on? And they're like, it's a category 1, maybe a category 2. I'm like, I don't know what those words mean.
Yeah.
That's not a thing for us. And I'm like, okay, so tell me what is a category 1? They're like, a really windy day.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we get those. I can handle that.
Yeah.
And then the next one was like, tell me about a category 2. It's like a really windy day, and you better bring your lawn furniture inside because it might be piled up in the corner somewhere.
Yeah.
And you'll probably get some rain. It's like, okay, we have that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, we have that all the time. It's Colorado. It's always windy here. So it's like, all right, we got this. And actually, it was really fun. The people that did stay were just having a blast.
Yeah, they were.
So we all nice. Just sort of, it was on 4th of July and the power kept going out. And there was a threat that we were going to have to be evacuated. And we're like, okay, we'll just go inland to another hotel. And they're like, no, you're going to a local gymnasium and you'll spend the night there. And I'm like, that might suck. Yeah. So, but you know what?
It all worked out. The best tip we ever got was when we were at the pool, someone there had said it's supposed to hit landfall later that night, really late, early morning the next morning. And so they said, before you go back to your rooms, during the curfew, bring some extra beach towels back with you and put those at the base of your door when you go to sleep, because you're going to be sleeping when it actually hits.
And we were only probably 20, 30 yards off of the water.
Ocean. Yeah. And it was great because there was some water that came in, but it wasn't.
And we were on the ground floor.
Yeah, we were on the ground floor. But it wasn't detrimental at all.
It was just like driving rain kind of thing.
Yeah, it was.
And the door was
totally
rattling
fine.
a little bit, but
totally fine.
But they were on it. They dropped off a little box breakfast.
Yeah.
And by the next morning, by about 11 o'clock, they're like, we're open.
No, 9 o'clock. It was 9 o'clock.
Yeah, come get food.
Yeah, it was
you're
great.
You're good to go and everything's fine. You know, it wasn't fine. Like, the pool was pretty full of junk. They had drained it and cleaned it and filled it back up.
We were ready to go that afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, the palapa where the breakfast is served was
falling down.
That was an issue. So they had to move that. They had to pivot and
so hopefully
change
this time, knock wood, we're obviously it's hurricane season, but we're hoping not to have a hurricane.
But we're ready. But we're ready for some.
We are so ready for that.
Some Mexican heat and relaxation. So
that's why you're tan. I'm not really.
You are tan.
For me.
Yeah, that is tan for you.
Yeah. So
good job.
We're ready for that. Yeah. And let's see. Lastly, little updates. We're doing gym routines going really well.
Gym's doing great. I'm really enjoying.
You took a picture the other day. It's like
really enjoying my time at the gym now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Little injuries here and there, but
you
hurt your knee. I hurt my tennis elbows. It's getting better though.
I wouldn't say hurt. I'd say it's kind of flared or strained a little bit or whatever. But we're working. We're addressing those, but we're not working out either. Yeah. We're just altering our workout routine with certain exercises, which is what's so great about Fitbod. That app is so great that it just, if something's hurting, if an abductor muscle's hurting more one day, we just swipe through and skip something. Switch it out for something else. Yeah. Certain exercises on this app, which has been wonderful.
Yeah, Fitbod's great. It was interesting the other day. Like since we've used it, I just got when you finish doing a routine, or whatever your workout was for that day,
scheduled workout,
it kind of tells you like what you did, how much weight you lift, and it's like congratulations, you had just went over. You've just lifted over 1 million pounds.
Since when?
Since we started using it.
Oh, well, you started using it. Well,
since I started using it. Yeah, I used it a little bit before you, but 1 million pounds. And you're like, crap,
wow, that's insane.
That's a lot. Some days it's just like, you just moved 20,000 pounds.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know. It's like, wow.
Through your workout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
it's like,
good for you. That's awesome.
I know. But it's also like, how did I do that?
I know.
Well, like even some days it's like, you moved 15,000 pounds today.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then you start doing the math, like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then it's like,
with all the reps and sets.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. But then you think like, okay, if somebody like, if you went to buy like, hey, I need 15,000 pounds of gravel deliver that and pour it in my front yard. You'd be like,
the thought of moving that?
It's a big hunk of gravel. You'd be like, oh, screw that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no,
I'm going to hire somebody. But then you go to the gym and move 15,000 pounds and you're like, Yeah. And it's been interesting. I mean, for me, it's like I'm getting to a point where I've got several machines that I've maxed out now.
Yeah, you are really approaching max on those. We're going to have to figure that out.
Now what do I do?
Yeah.
And the Fitbod app keeps going like, okay, go more. I'm like, it's like go, like we were doing hip abductors and I was tapped out. It was at 300 pounds. It's the one kind of put your legs in and you kind of squish it together. Yeah. And I'm like, and also the crunches, the crunch machine, it taps out at 325. And it's like, okay, now do 350. And I said to you, I'm like, what do I do now? Like, like it wants me to go more and I could go more, But
I see a lot of people put those weights, the round weights that are for
Yeah,
the
but that's going to be like
barbells,
5 or 10 pounds. You're not going to hang a 45-pounder off of that thing.
I don't know.
I'm always afraid.
Well, I'm not there yet. So
I keep maxing them out. I'm just going to break one of these days, and I'm going to just like go flying across the room.
Right.
Yeah.
Collapse in a ball.
So yeah, gym stuff's going good.
Yeah, it's going really well.
That's our update for this week. And thanks for hanging in and listening to our kooky little world. Hopefully we'll be back from Cancun safely when you eat next week and the birds haven't killed me.
I know. We'll see about the birds.
Yeah, especially if you cut them off on their food for a week.
I know.
There's no. I have every expectation we're going to come back to our house like vandalized by birds. So little bird turds. So all right. So we are talking about the importance of supplements, vitamins, minerals, as we age, and it is a topic that I think we've always on and off throughout my life taken vitamins.
Right.
But overall, probably more off than on. And I've always kind of thought like, okay, diet can do a lot there.
Sure. Yeah.
And then once we started doing our farm, we kind of realized and did a lot of work. We really started to realize how depleted our food is of really important nutrients.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that is, and we even saw that on in our own farm, when you grow, especially if you're not doing crop rotations, I mean, you see a lot of corn and soy are a really common one. It's like they try and put minerals back in, but they're only putting the minerals in that are going to give you the highest yields.
Sure.
But there's hundreds of other base minerals that we just don't get in our body anymore.
No.
And I think it is, and there are definitely two different schools of thought on supplementation.
Yeah.
One is like, we can get everything we need from our food and you shouldn't worry about it. Right. And the other is you had better be supplementing these.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, those, it's like, and here, click my link below and you can get my special formula for these vitamins or minerals because they're trying to sell you something. So, I mean, I can see where that kind of can make people a little bit like, okay, this is just about like every other marketing ploy out there. But I do believe it is critical. And I think we're really starting to see a lot of proof through testing that it is critical to, as we age, to supplement. Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, it's sort of one of those Occam's razors kind of thoughts of like, okay, if I don't do it, which is worse?
Yeah.
If I don't do it, am I going to fundamentally change my life? But if I do supplement, and it could have profound impact on my life. Yeah. And so, especially in things that we're really particularly nervous about, you in particular with Alzheimer's and dementia.
Dementia from my
seeing your mother go through that, and my father died at 62 from Parkinson's types. He was a mechanic his whole life, and they said it really was more induced from just chemical overload from his body.
But that brings a good point. I mean, you don't want to put all your trust in whether it's genetic or environmental. I mean, for both examples, your dad and my mom, what was it the cause more of? Was it a genetic factor for both of them or either of them? Or was it environmental? Was there lacking something in their diet or something in their environment that was contributing to it that you can counter? How are you going to know until you're, maybe when you're looking in the rearview mirror, but that's, it's too late.
Right. And it seems to me like it's cheap insurance.
Yeah. Err on the side of supplementing.
We spend less than a doctor's visit per month.
Oh, absolutely.
On supplements.
Yeah.
And, I think I feel better.
Oh, I feel better. And our numbers show.
Our numbers. And that's a great segue to numbers. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make and just guilty right here is, until we really started learning about it, is people would just be like, oh, I've got a sore throat, I'm going to take some vitamin C. Or, you know,
periodic.
I'm going to take some, I'm going to just get a one a day multivitamin, and that should be sufficient.
Sure.
And once we got into our 50s and really started on this health journey, we started understanding, like, you can test for these things,
right?
And you can really see it changes. I think, you know, it's one thing to say, like, you can test for this,
right?
It's another thing to see, like, we tested for it, we supplemented with something, and we saw a dramatic change.
Sure. When you do a full panel, and you see the whole picture of where you are, your starting markers, and then and not a lot of physicians will voluntarily say, hey, I think you should do a full blood panel and let's test all of these markers and numbers. Not all of them will do that.
Or they're just doing for one thing. It's
they're doing it for one thing.
Your blood pressure's high. Like, we're going to test for this. Or your cholesterol's high. We're just going to test your HDL and LDL and not look at the whole holistic
But to do a full,
picture.
thorough panel, an annual panel, when we first started, we got our markers and we were like, oh, wow, what's going on here? And then we addressed it with supplements that would deal with those certain factors.
Yeah.
And then we tested a year later, and all of those were in the green. They were superior. And
our doctor was shocked when
he was
like, especially with vitamin D, because we tested low on that, and then we just like, okay. And I did some research, and it's like we were taking maybe like 1,000 or 2,000 IU a day of vitamin D supplements, just it was just Costco vitamin D.
Sure.
And we
upped it.
Well, we did some research, and a lot of, especially health, enthusiasts and biohackers were like, you need a minimum of 10,000
IU per day.
IU per day. And we found one that we started doubling up on and tripling up on what we were taking before. And then we found one from Metagenics. That's a single pill. It's a little tiny thing.
So we don't have to take, 5.
Take 5. Yeah, we take 10,000 IU.
And it has vitamin K in it too.
Yes. And we went back to our doctor. We tested 6 months later, and he's like, wow.
What are you doing?
Your vitamin D is perfect now.
Spot on.
And he was actually shocked. I'm like, why is that such a big deal? He goes, oh, you'd be surprised. Like, people are critically low on vitamin D. Yeah. And so we're gonna talk about kind of what ours, but that was a big one. Yeah. I'm going to talk about fish oil and kind of our journey on that a little bit, and some of the to do with cholesterol but we're going to talk about what we take, and kind of we take quite a few supplements, but we're going to talk about the ones that I think are the most important ones that everybody should be at least understanding where they're at.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a number. I'm not going to tell you how much to take. I'm not even going to tell you how much we take normally on most of these things. But what I am going to tell you is you can test for this, and you can do it. Like we don't even do it through our doctor anymore. We just go through
an online service.
It's called
LinktRee.
Linktree.
I'll put it in the show notes down below. It's wonderful. It's very economical. Yeah. And they work with you if you need, certain panels, and you can customize a bundle, and
you can hand pick it. They have like a wonderful vitamin and mineral.
They have a doctor on site that will, request the panels to be done. Yeah. The orders.
It just goes through to a local lab.
And then you can just print it or just do it on your phone and go to your local Quest or blood draw center or whatever. Yeah. And it's very affordable.
Yeah, it's super cheap. I mean, it's really, again, this is cheap insurance as I look at it. I mean, if you do it every 6 months, you'll start to see, you really will start. We've got a couple of years of data now, and we're starting to see patterns. As a really cool, interesting side note, we just read about this. What a lot of biohackers are doing now is they're taking these test results and they are uploading them to AI, to Grok or Chat GTP, right? And they can read these results, and be like, "Hey, do this or do that."
How close is it to what your physician would read it as?
Yeah. And we haven't tried that yet, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what it comes back with, because it's interesting because, sometimes those correlations, you don't really see them all. Maybe you don't even understand them all.
Sure.
Like I was just doing some research on THP, the thyroid, TSH.
Thyroid stimulating hormone.
Yes. And that one is talk about confusing.
I know.
I mean,
super
I
crazy.
literally probably spent 2 hours and I finally okay, it's the opposite of what you think it is.
Hypo and
it's
hyper
high
and
and
all
hypo
that.
and
I know.
hyper. But you were having issues. Your tests came back recently. Like your numbers it was climbing. It was getting too high, which is your pituitary gland, like trying to crank up your thyroid. And you had actually had the same issue before, and we did some research, and you started taking selenium. Started taking selenium, and it came right back down to where it should be. And so it'll be an interesting experience. You ran out, and you just kind of forgot to take more of it, because I think that happens. And and then it'll be interesting when you test again in 3 months to see if taking that again will bring it back down into a normal range.
It'll be interesting.
So it's fun. I mean, it is really interesting. And the other thing that you can do with AI, or you can just Google it, is like, hey, I'm low on fill in the blank, whatever that mineral is. Yeah. And you will, and there's tons of data, and you can literally just it'll be like, well, even your thyroid, it's like, the doctor will be like, oh yeah, you probably need to take some thyroid medications, which are incredibly addictive and you can't get off of them. Right. And so I was like, okay, let's look online. It's like, start with this. Yeah. And we did.
A supplement.
And it made it a supplement. So that's the other thing for me. Like, whenever the doctor, and we'll give you some examples of this, but like whenever the doctor is like, hey, I'm like, okay, what's the supplement equivalent to
Let's try that
pharmaceutical one? And we have 100% been able to take the supplement equivalent and fundamentally alter those numbers.
Right. Which you brought up a really good point. If you're currently taking medications for whatever it is, be sure that if you start doing supplementation, confirm with your doctor, do your research, make sure there's no counter reactions with, the current medications that you're taking.
But we work with a lot of folks. I mean, I think, Tracy's a great example. I mean, he had type 2 diabetes and changed his diet, supplementation. He is now no longer at risk for type 2 and potentially type 1.
He's not taking any of his medications anymore.
He's able to get off all of his meds. Yeah. And you can do that too. You have to understand it. Take the time. This is your body. Don't rely on somebody else to fix this shit up. No. Like, you need to be responsible and
ask questions.
Ask questions.
Ask questions.
Do your research. This stuff is the days of like only the doctor knows the answer because he went to medical school are over. Right. Like, I can ask any AI bot, like, what should I do for this? And you'll get stupid amounts of information and say, I want it to be supplement. Find me, what's the supplement I can do to fix this? What's the vitamin? What's the mineral?
Supplement alternative.
Yeah. And if you take the time, like, go walk around a health food store. Like, it's not just, a multivitamin and some vitamin C. There's stuff in there. I still walk by. I'm like, who takes all of this stuff? I mean, there's just some kooky stuff in there. Like, I never even heard of that. I know. And I don't necessarily want to have to take them all, but I'm willing to like do the research and take those. So,
but first and foremost, the most important thing to do is go get your blood work, a full blood panel done, so you have a baseline as to know where you're lacking, where you're okay at, what you need to work on, and then you'll have that marker moving forward and keeping a track record and seeing your progress. Yeah,
and I love this quote by Dr. Mark Heyman, which is blood work. Blood works like a report card for your body.
Yep, that's right.
And it changes. That's right. It really does. But
this aging is kind of like, as we're getting into this age, it's kind of like being schooled all over again. Like, you wake up one day and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, I was fine when I went to bed. Now I feel pretty cruddy when I woke up the next morning. What's going on? I need to learn what is happening with my body, because it's totally different. It's post-menopausal and post-manopausal for the men. And it's just, things are changing, and we need to be able to change and be able to be open to learning about this new body for the last part of our lives and make it the best we can.
And it's trying to give you feedback. Your body's trying to tell you something's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and fortunately, it's not like, you know, a car where it's like, hey, your headlight's out. You know, it's like, but like something's kooky here and you should pay attention to that.
Right.
And we can diagnose ourselves as well, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's absolutely a time and place for a doctor.
Yes.
And there is also a time and place for you to take responsibility for your own body.
Yes.
So
100%.
So we're going to talk a bit next about what we consider to have like the must-have supplements. Like if you're not taking these, you're probably doing yourself a disservice.
Or you're not feeling at your peak.
Not running at your peak.
Yeah, you're not feeling your best and having the most vitality you can get.
Yeah.
That's why we take these.
Yeah. Number one is vitamin D.
Vitamin D, 100%.
I think that is one, and it's becoming more and more apparent, especially now they're talking about with connections to Alzheimer's and dementia and bone loss. I mean, it is the only vitamin that our body makes.
Yep.
And that's a big deal. Like if you're not, you know, it's like, that's how important it is.
That's how
and
important
if you
it is.
think back over time, and I always try and like, you know, let's get out of this last 100 years or even last 50 years. But like we were agrarians. We spent a lot of time outside.
Yeah.
Like our bodies were used to converting the sunlight into vitamin D, into like something very usable.
Because we were
for our
out,
bodies.
you know, hunting, gathering, working
Farming.
the fields, farming. We were out in the sun, in the soil, and getting what we needed from the sun. And now with the creation and implementation of sunscreens, really, really strong sunscreens, it's just everybody is just always putting sunscreen on. You need to have some sunlight to your skin. It's very beneficial, especially early morning sun. It's very beneficial to your overall health, but your ability to convert that to the vitamin D that your body needs.
Right. Also setting your circadian rhythm and just there's a ton of benefits for sunlight, but we just can't get, we let's face it, we're not out in the fields anymore.
No.
I mean, we're working inside, we're in buildings, we're under artificial light.
Right.
You need to get out and, you know, you don't want to lay out at you know, noon or 2 a.m. where you're going to get burnt.
Right.
But that's important.
Well, and there's studies after studies that show that, you know, 50% of Americans at least, and I want to say that's very conservative. I think it's very conservative, that at least 50% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. And that's because of the change in our cultural and our way of life.
Yeah.
Really.
And it's interesting because our kids came home last Christmas and our son had said, hey, I know you guys do testing. Can I do that?
Yeah.
And we were like, sure. So for a Christmas gift, we here, go have that guy take your blood. And he did. And both of our kids came back really super low on vitamin D. It's you guys
deficient.
need to be taking vitamin D supplements. And they are now. And I think it's making a big difference.
They feel much better.
They do. Yeah. And they both live sort of indoor lives or, you know, our son being a musician is just sort of a night crawler, you know, I mean, he's out at night and sleeps during the day because they play gigs at night. So, and our daughter works indoors all day.
Yeah.
So, you know, they need that. So vitamin D, super important. The next one is magnesium.
Magnesium.
I think if you don't understand your magnesium levels, you're going to have a lot of issues. And I think there are some telltale signs that most people don't even think about. For me, low magnesium was I kept getting these heart palpitations. I kept getting muscle cramps and heart palpitations.
Same. Yeah.
And I was like, what in the hell is going on here? Why is this happening? And I finally, we tested and my magnesium came back really low. And most Americans, again, are incredibly low. And primarily it's because it is not in our food sources anymore. Right. The soil has been so overworked and depleted. It's gone. It's not something that we can also get it from meats as well. But again, people think we have learned on our food supply, animals are fed for one reason, and that is for growth.
For growth.
The faster something grows, whether it's a cow or a pig or a chicken, the faster they grow, the the faster they can be harvested and sold.
Or even fish.
Even fish. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Gosh, don't get me started on farm
Raised fish.
Stuff they feed those guys.
Yeah.
They feed them the crap from the other animals.
Yeah, literally.
So, I mean, magnesium there's a lot of research done on magnesium. We take 2 different magnesiums.
We do.
We take a glycinate
for in the evening to help with our sleep and our relaxation and our recovery.
Which you've been able to get because we used to take melatonin.
Oh yeah, I don't take any melatonin anymore.
You take a magnesium glycinate.
And it's been wonderful.
It really does.
Yeah.
It makes you sleepy. Don't take that one during the day.
Yeah.
And then we take magnesium citrate in the morning. Because it's it doesn't put you to sleep. It can cause, you got to kind of work up to it. It can be a little rough on your tummy at first. So start every other day.
Yeah.
But I guarantee
it really, really helps with muscle health and recovery.
Pretty much all of the electrical connections. We're pretty much an electrical machine. We're a meat machine. And all of those electrical connections need magnesium to function.
Yeah, they do.
And on that, it also potassium is another one.
Potassium really helps with that too.
Incredibly critical. And you can get some of that from sodium, but supplementing potassium is also really good for overall muscle health.
Right. And you can't eat and convert enough bananas to get the potassium.
And that, I always thought we don't need potassium. We like bananas. And once you do some research on it, the amount of potassium you get from a banana is nominal.
That's nominal.
That is not a lot of potassium.
No.
You'd have to eat bunches and bunches of, you'd have to be a monkey to get enough potassium. Probably would spend most of your day in the bathroom. But regulates blood pressure, heart health. Bananas won't cut it. Same with magnesium, supports muscle recovery, sleep. It's great post-workout for your muscles. So I always look at magnesium and potassium go hand in hand. Vitamin C is one that is critical. Most people take a vitamin C when they have a sore throat. We take, what do we do? 5,000 units. And it's great. It's great for health.
Daily. We take it daily.
Keeps your body in a little more acidic state, which helps with tumors and all kinds of kooky stuff. So other ones, a high quality omega-3 fish oil. We're going to talk a lot about that. We've had some really interesting experiences.
We have.
We're going to talk about that omega-3 fish oil, but omega-3 critical. And then zinc is another one. I think zinc is a giant immunity boost. We're going to Mexico and we always end up with we call it the Cancun crud. We always get some.
I think because we're off of our schedule. We're probably drinking too much and staying up too late.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll start taking zinc upping my zinc before we go on vacations. Just sitting in the big metal tube with all the other runny nose people.
Oh, on the plane?
Yeah. It's that thing's a petri dish.
But that's another one that you got to take. You got to work up to.
You do. It can cause a little stomach
once
upset.
every other day, maybe, or every 2 days or whatever.
But if you're feeling crunky, or you feel like you're gonna go you're gonna be around doing a lot of peopling, man, I'll step up my zinc.
You will.
I can tell in a big time. And then the other one that we've been taking recently, especially since we're working out, is creatine, and it does so much muscle strength. It's it's almost sort of like a steroid because it forces
helps you build and retain it.
And it puts water into your muscles intramuscularly. It's great for cognition. And if you're working out, if you're lifting, you need it because it really does help with your muscles. So
definitely.
So those are kind of the big ones for us. But we take others. There's other things. You mentioned selenium earlier. I take a supplement called DIM, which helps with if you're on testosterone replacement to not build up too much estrogen. So I just cry all the time. and so there's a lot of different things you can take. But that's where that testing that we talked about earlier, use that testing and then match a supplement and then experiment with the right quantities. So, that's important. So,
and like for example, with the magnesium, we take a calcium supplement to help the absorption level of the magnesium be better absorbed. So, All
right. So the next one is multivitamins. And guilty as charged. We used to just take a
used to.
multivitamin, and it was just like, it was a big ass pill, so it must have been doing something. It was like a horse pill.
know. Yeah.
I don't remember who we got that one from. It was like you could barely choke that thing down. But it's really kind of you can only put so much in one pill. And
they're way less effective than if you target your deficiencies specific with specific supplementation.
Yeah.
As opposed to a multivitamin. They're just less effective.
Right. And generally they're lower quality. Yeah. They're not absorbed as well. There are some good ones out there, but I mean, I would say I think, it's sort of like hunting with a shotgun versus a rifle.
Sure.
I mean, it's like take a multivitamin is better than nothing. Okay. If you don't want to do anything, go find a really good multivitamin and take the amount they recommend, which is usually like 2 or 3 of them a day. It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
But you're just sort of shotgunning and hoping, you get the stuff you need versus doing the testing and targeting it, in a very specific way. So, it can't address individual deficiencies at all. I mean, it's just going to get kind of a high level. Yeah. So that's sort of our add-on with multivitamins. You can do all of these supplements and do a multivitamin.
Yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah, and I do some amino acids, and I use the Perfect Amino products, and I really like that. But it's just adding more stuff in there. It's sort of a shotgun approach. And it's better than nothing, but I would definitely encourage you to try and do something more targeted.
Targeted. Yeah.
Yeah. So next we're going to talk about omega-3s. And fish oils.
And we never really got into omega-3s or saw the benefits because they just always tasted fishy. And we always remember burping them up throughout the day. And it was just like, why are we doing this? So we stopped taking them all together. I mean, early on in our marriage, we stopped. I mean, we tried several different brands and we're like, oh, that's just awful. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
And so once we did our testing, once we became empty nesters and started our health journey and did all this testing, then we saw that we were needing some omega-3s. I mean, needing to address that. And our doctor's like, oh, there's so many out there that are really, really not fishy at all and kind of citrusy. And we're like, really?
Yeah.
Sure
He
enough.
turned us on to the Metagenics ones.
Yeah, Metagenics was great.
And the reason why we started with fish oil was I had gone in, and we had been about a year into our weight loss journey, and I hadn't lost all my weight, but my diet was very stable in terms of what I was eating. Nothing had changed, and I'd gone in, and my cholesterol was remember it was 209, and I was like, he's like, okay, 200 is the kind of upper limit, which I think is arbitrary.
There's
whole we could do a whole show on that
on cholesterol,
but
cholesterol is really important for brain health and hormonal health and.
It is, but he said like, hey, I can put you on a low dose statin. That'll help bring that down. Right. And I'm like, nope, I am not. And we've trained our doctor now, like, don't start with the pharmaceuticals.
Nope.
Like, give me something. I'm like, not going to do it. Not going to take a statin.
That will be our last choice.
I like my boy parts to work. I don't want to do that.
Me too.
And he's like, okay, I've got something else I want you to try. And it was Metagenics omega-3 fish oil.
Yep.
And then he gave me a methylation supplement as well from Metagenics, which I'm like, I'd heard of fish oil, but never heard of methylation. And now I've done a lot of work on methylation. It's really interesting. And 6 months later, went back and tested. No changes from the diet I was on. And we were still eating super clean. And my cholesterol was climbing. Went back 6 months later, and I had dropped my cholesterol by 45 points.
45 points.
Which was crazy. Even my doctor was like,
what are you doing?
What happened? Why did that go down so much? I'm like, I'm taking those supplements you told me. He goes, wow, I'm going to tell more people to take those. I'm like, that's a good plan.
Yeah. So, he goes, okay, so keep doing that.
Yeah. And it has stayed right
lower.
there. It hasn't climbed. It hasn't gone back up. It hasn't done anything. So I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to keep taking that.
Right.
And then talking about fish oil, I think we've mentioned this before on that, but I was 5 or 6 years ago, was in a pretty nasty car accident, and I had herniated 2 discs in my back, and I had a 50% labral tear in my right hip, and we're just kind of hanging on, and eventually it's going to have to be replaced because it's busted up pretty good. But I'm trying to keep my original equipment
Right.
as long as possible so I don't have to
Do the procedure twice.
do it when I'm an old guy. So I had done a cortisone shot and it worked. And then I did a second one and it didn't really work that well. And it was getting bad. I'd never really lived with chronic pain before. And it was like, this is getting bad. I think it's time.
Yeah.
And I went back to the doctor and he goes, I want you to try something else. And he gave me another product from Metagenics. It's called SPM Active. And we'll put a link in. And he's like, try this fish. It's another fish oil, but it's different. It has different properties.
It's formulated for joint
pain. Yeah.
pain.
And he's like, try this and see how it goes. And within 2 weeks,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, damn. I mean, I felt 90% better.
Yeah, the pain was,
Gone.
yeah.
And that was a year ago.
Oh, at least a year. I'd say more than a year.
Yeah.
I'd say a year and a half.
I haven't
at least.
really. When was the last time you heard me complain about my hip?
I know.
Rarely.
And you take those at night.
I take those at night before I go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not fishy. They're like citrusy or whatever. And yeah, that's been wonderful. So we are huge.
I recommend those to
omega-3,
people who are like, oh, my joint, my hip, my elbow,
whatever it is.
It's for joint type pain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, try this. And I've had several people like, damn, that worked. And it worked really well. I mean, I don't know enough about it to really talk like what's the difference between the two different fish oils I take, but you know what? They both work and I'm taking both. Yeah. And I've read some really great research on, going back throughout time in history, previous, especially Europeans had a very, ate a lot of fish and it was a big part of the human diet for a long time. If you really look at most societies that have flourished are on the ocean.
Sure.
Because it's just a big supply of food there.
Yeah.
And, so our bodies are very highly tuned for fish oils and fish. And people like us now, like we rarely eat fish because we don't live anywhere near the water.
Right.
Because we don't have to. But there is a cost to that. And I think fish oils, I think the big one for fish oils is I think people that's coming is aging, inflammation, but also Alzheimer's and dementia. And keeping those sort of that circuitry in your brain well lubricated is super important, so you don't get plaque build up.
Yeah, I agree.
So, so that's another really one that's important.
Yeah. So whenever we do go on our travels anywhere, it's usually near the ocean. Usually. Oh yeah. At one of the coasts, we always eat tons of fish when we're there.
Oh yeah.
Always.
I just fish here in Colorado. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll get emails about this. I'm sure it's put it in the comments, but fish here in Colorado isn't as good. Fish by the ocean is so much better.
Well, because it's fresh. It's fresh. It's not flown in,
Oh, when we first moved here, because we lived in Newport Beach, we had fresh fish all the time.
Yeah. We did.
And I remember we moved here, and it was like the first couple of months we were here, and you bought some halibut.
No, it was cod.
Cod? It
was cod.
And I was cleaning it, and I looked down, and I see this little something wiggling around. There's a freaking worm.
Yeah, cod worm.
Yeah. And I took it back to the store, and I'm like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm done eating fish here. So yeah.
So yeah, we do omega-3s.
We do omega-3s.
We embrace those.
And we eat a lot of fish. That's why we go on vacation, really.
That's right.
It's mostly for our health.
It is. It is.
It's for the fish.
It's for the fish. Yeah, right. Sure.
All right. Lastly, we're going to talk about diet.
Diet, right.
And we've touched on this earlier.
Nutrition.
Talking about, poor nutrition. And I now, especially since we were so involved in the food production and really got heavily involved with organic and understanding how our food system works and the industrialist side of it and the CAFOs and, confined feeding operations. And you do really start to realize, I think the big revelation for me when we had bought, it's like, hey, we want to do some meat birds on our farm.
Right. And we had layers. We had
laying hens.
Laying hens.
And several hundred laying hens. And we're like, we should do some meat birds. We'll raise them for us to eat. Yeah. And we'll use them we'll sell some. Yeah. And we went and we bought like the traditional, what is now what everybody eats. Yeah. Which is I'm trying to remember what they're called. I call them Franken chickens.
I know.
They were freaking disgusting.
They're the white ones.
Yeah.
The white. I mean, there's other white
breeds, but these birds
I can't remember what the breed was.
I don't know. Yeah. They were remember. Holy cow, you're a disgusting little creature.
Yeah, whatever. So
so these birds would be a normal chicken would take about 6 months to get to an edible size.
A
These
size enough
chickens
to
were
cook.
ready in 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
And they would eat themselves to death. Like they would
Literally.
you would eat so much their legs would break and their backs
they would just sit around.
Yeah, they'd sit around on the ground and their undersides would get gross and disgusting. And we were like, what in the world is wrong?
Yeah.
These chickens are disgusting.
We never bought that breed again.
No. But it was gross.
It was
but
awful.
and that's the same thing. It's the same thing for pork. It's the same thing for beef. It's the same thing for chicken.
Yeah.
Even fish today. It's like farm raised.
Farm raised fish, and that's my big, and I'm a big stickler about that. Any fish that I choose to purchase to cook at home and out, really, I don't choose farm raised, because what that means is that they're being fed corn
And soy.
When's the last time you saw a corn stalk growing underwater?
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. And they do that in corn and soy because it's cheap and they can grow them fast and they can harvest them quickly and make more profit.
And then in other countries, they do they feed
Worse
them
than that.
shit. They take chicken feed and pig feed,
feces,
pig poop, and they take all the poop and feed it to the fish.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Like tilapia. I mean, it's like, man, those are the rats of the sea. Like
Yeah.
they feed those poor fish. Like it's disgusting.
So be selective. If you're choosing to add more fish into your diets for you and your spouse, your family, just read the packaging and prefer to choose wild caught as opposed to farm raised, because there are some definite cons to farm raised fish, especially.
There's definite cons to most things that are farm raised, and whether it's
But you got to know your farm. If it's a conventional farming operation, yes, 100%. There's a negative. But if you're buying from a locally grown farmer, a farmer that's growing locally, you get to know that farmer, get to know their raising practices, and know where your meat comes from, know how it's grown, so you know what you're putting in your body.
And even if you can't do that, which most people, let's be realistic, can't do that. They're not going to go find a farmer and buy a side of beef.
I know.
And we don't even do that anymore.
No.
But I would say, if you're not going to do that, understand you should be well aware of the fact that there will be deficiencies.
There will be deficiencies.
And that is why you need to supplement for those deficiencies. You need to test for those deficiencies, and then ultimately understand it's not going to be like it was 100 years. It's not going to be like it was 50 years ago.
Right.
If you want to, we went down that road. We raised all our own food. We fed it like super high quality, non-soy, non-corn, no GMOs. Everything was organic. And, we could do that. But it was really hard to do.
It was hard and it was expensive.
Yeah. So understand that there will be deficiencies and you need to compensate for those.
Absolutely.
And that is really, I think, if there's any takeaway from this, that's it. Eat a good, clean diet. Test your blood, get in there, test and figure out what, where those levels are and compensate for that. You can correct for it. You don't have to just go, oh, well, it sucks to be me.
Right.
So, So that was a lot.
It was a lot, but it's
probably
important.
lost a few people along the way, like, vitamins. It sucks. And I do feel like a lot of people do, it's too much to understand.
Right.
Because I don't know. Because if you aren't testing, it really is like a shot in the dark.
Right.
You're just hoping.
And it can be overwhelming.
It can be. And you can also, you can get toxic on some things. You have to be careful. So test first. Then
address
the issues.
Yes.
So
when
we see you next, we should be all rested and tan and ready to just take on the rest.
Full of vitamin D.
Full of vitamin D, yes.
Ready to take on the birds.
Exactly. So we appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, take a minute, please write a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That really does help and lets the YouTube people know that we're not schmucks and we're doing the right thing. So we appreciate you tuning in and we look forward to talking to you next time.
Yeah.
Go lead unconventional lives.
Yeah. Take care. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The views and opinions shared on this podcast are our own and reflect our personal experiences and beliefs. We encourage listeners to take what resonates with them and to seek professional advice where needed. especially in matters related to health, fitness, relationships, and parenting. Our conversations are candid, unfiltered, and intended to inspire, but they may not be suitable for all audiences. Always remember, what works for us may not work for everyone, and your journey is uniquely your own.